Hey folks, I'm Jack Watson, UI UX designer, illustrator, animator, donut connoisseur, and we've got a fun marketing challenge today. We'll be putting together product mockups for our brand using the mockup tool, the mockup beta feature in Illustrator. There's links in the description below this video where you can find a link to download your free resources to create along with us. You'll find a branding template and today's starter file over there. Our starter file is where we're going to be working, and it has a few things going on. As always, I've got some notes over here. There's just the things that we're going to be covering during the stream if you want to reference them later, as well as a working artboard for your sketches. I've also got some free Adobe Stock assets in here for creating mockups, but I'm going to show you where you can find more of those, as well as the relevant pages, which are kind of blank today, from our overall branding presentation. If I go over to that, which is your second file, that's what that's going to look like. You should, if you've been following along and working with us this month, you should have most of this filled out already. But if you are joining us for the first time, no worries. You can still work along with us today, starting with the mockup pages, which are down here. All right, so back over into our starter file. If you've been working along, feel free to copy your logos into this file to get started. If not, we can make a quick logo type. You'll remember this is challenge 3. I just copied these in straight into the file so we could have them to work with. I see a bunch of friends in the chat. Hey everybody, Alejandro and Oliver and Clever and Bruce. Welcome. If you're joining over on YouTube or on Behance, come say hi. Let us know what kind of loaf merch you want to see created today. If you are joining the replay on YouTube, you can feel free to leave a comment there as well. Any questions you have. So, like I said, we're making mockups for the brand we've been creating all along. You can feel free to make your own brand. This is a food. I like food brands, so that's what I'm choosing to do. This is called Loaf. It's a family restaurant focused on breakfast. So, to get started, I'm going to just create a simple logo type if you're just joining us, and we're going to hop over to fonts.adobe.com. in order to create that. So I can go in here and just look at all of the fonts, and you'll notice that I've already got the sample text plugged in for my brand, but you might have it load up looking like this, in which case you can just select this sample text and you can type in either loaf, all caps. I actually like to do both so I can see a little bit of uppercase, all uppercase, and sentence case if you wanted to, or initial caps. And so once you've got that plugged in, it's going to give you a little preview of what your text is going to look like, so you can see what it looks like in the font that you're choosing. And then over to the side, if you recall from our initial challenge 1, we went over brand discovery. So you can pick, if you want to go watch that replay, you can pick some fonts associated with your brand's personality. So using these tags, our brand is really friendly, so I'm going to click on that tag. If you were working on like an elegant and classic brand, you might pick something like luxury. You can also sort by classification, so sans serif or serif. Serif if you want to have the little accents on your letters, or sans serif if you don't want those. And then you can sort by things like weight. I like to pick heavier fonts usually. And then once you find something that you like, you can either click on this add family here, or going into the actual font itself, you can get more previews and see if you really want to choose that font. And then you're going to hit add family. It's going to give you a pop-up that's going to let you know that it's going to add those to your Creative Cloud, and any app you open is going to have those loaded. Ooh, we've got some suggestions coming in already. Isis says, let's make loaf oven mitts or trevets, please. Love that idea. And Chris is joining from Discord. Chris asked earlier today about making mock-ups, so I'm so glad you're here to check this out, Chris. All right, back in here, I'm just going to grab the point type tool by clicking on it in the tools palette, and then I can scale my text up either using this little contextual toolbar that pops up, or you can do it from the control bar up here. All right, I'm going to replace my lorem ipsum text just by making sure that my text is selected and typing out loaf. And then switching to the selection tool, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. We're going to apply our font. So I've already got a brand font picked out that we've been working with. It's called DS Pang Pang if you're looking for it on Adobe Fonts. So I'm just going to start to type that out either in the character drop down here or here. So I can type out DSA, and there's our fun, looks like a loaf of bread font, right? All right, and to give this a little bit of personality, so we have something that's a little bit playful today to work with, I'm going to just use the touch type tool. And the touch type tool is a really fun way to add some movement to your type, but keep it live text still. So in Illustrator, under some of the tools here, if I zoom in, you'll see this little arrow or this little like corner place. If you click and hold on tools that have that little arrow, there's a drop down that appears with additional tool options. So if we click on the type tool and hold down, at the bottom we have the touch type tool, so we can switch to that. And with this tool, I'm just going to move it so we can see a little bit better, I can move my characters around. So if I click on the L, you're going to see it's going to give me a little bounding box just like a selection tool would. And we can adjust these letters. Not only can we move them, if I grab the corner, we can scale them. If I grab this little like dot at the top, it'll let me rotate them around. So we can kind of shuffle these letters around to just get something quick started here and add a little bit more personality to our characters. So we'll just kind of move things around a little bit, making it a little bit more playful. And then we can also add a little bit of color to this if we want. So I'm just kind of making these kind of flow nicely, right? So we can add a little bit of color to this. We've already got some brand colors picked out. Let me move this out of the way. Or you can go into the color picker here. If you need some help with colors, visit color.adobe.com. Or you can check out, like I said, one of the replays for the challenges that we did where we kind of looked at creating a color palette. Or you can just kind of pick something fun to play with, you know, maybe something pink. Dragging from left to right is going to adjust the saturation. Dragging from top to bottom in the color picker is going to adjust the value. So the saturation is the color, or the amount of color. I'm blanking on the terminology right now. The value is going to be how light or dark it is, and then obviously you've got the hue, which is going to be this slider over here, so we can adjust the hue to get like maybe like a purple. I love purples. I don't know about you all, but it's one of my favorite colors. All right, and green. So if you want to play around with your logo type, you can. Otherwise, we can grab some of our logos that we've kind of created already, and we can start to put them together on some mock-ups. So like I said, I pulled some in here, but if you want to look for some mock-ups for your brand, you can go to stock.adobe.com. And how I did this to pull some of these in is I just went to this drop down here, and you can choose free. And then here you can see I've done a little bit of testing before. You can type in what you're kind of searching for. So I'm going to type in, you can already see we've done coffee cup. Maybe we'll try oven mitt and see what we get. I'm just going to hit enter. Oh, there we go. We've got some nice oven mitts coming in here. I think this is like a trivet style. Or we could type in coffee mug. Might be easier to go over my what I want to talk about with in regards to picking mock-ups if we take a look at some coffee mugs. Okay, so now that we've got that loaded, like I said, I like to search for things that are relevant to my brand. I see a lot of branding case studies that just have tons and tons of mock-ups, and to be honest, a lot of them, they don't really make sense to me. The whole idea behind a mock-up is that it's a way for your client to envision their brand. And to really do that, the product should be things that they might actually put their brand on. For example, does it make sense for my family restaurant brand Loaf to have like trade show graphics? I mean, maybe if they're going to like a restaurant trade show, but like generally speaking, you want to think about like what makes sense for my brand. I want to showcase the client things that I think will help them visualize, right? So like restaurant signage, coffee mugs. In this case, I also would advise you to pick things that fit the look and feel of your brand. Would this white coffee mug work? Absolutely. But if you can find an image that fits the like feeling of your brand, it's going to help your client relate to that even more. So for example, I would probably pick some of these cozier images. This one would be great because it's got the yellow background, which matches my brand colors. I probably wouldn't pick something like this because we're not doing a coffee shop necessarily, it's a restaurant. So just kind of take a look through here, and when you're looking at them, think, does this make sense for my brand, and does it fit the style, the look and feel that we're going for, right? And once you kind of find something that you like, I kind of like this one here, you can click on it and you can either download this file like a preview, or you can go ahead and you can save it to your library right here. And if you choose to save it to your library, when you click on that, it's going to give you a little pop-up here. And if you want to change where that's saving to, you're going to hit manage. And when you do that, it's going to give you an option to pick the library that you're saving it to. That way, when we go back to Illustrator, we know exactly where our file is going to be located. Otherwise, you're going to have to go like searching for it if you've got a lot of libraries already created, or you could create a new library to save it to if you're just kind of starting off for the first time with a new library. Okay, so we've got our mockup saved. We've got a couple of suggestions coming in from the chat. Tea towels. I love that idea. Katarina's asking, would it work with generated mockups? Yes, and I want to show that. You'll notice I've got my Firefly tab open over here. Yes, Firefly would also be a great way. If you go to firefly.adobe.com, this would be a great use of text to image. So if I go over here to generate, in text to image, we can type in, if you can't find the specific look and feel that you're going for, or you can't find the specific mockup. I know I've had clients in the past that want like very specific like sized bottles, or like very specific items that they want to show their you know, their brand or their logo on, in which case you would go in here and you could try typing it in. So let's see, we've got a tea towel here, so I'm gonna try plain, because we want it to be plain white tea towel cozy. We try restaurant as well, if I could spell. Actually, I'm just going to leave cozy. We're not going to add restaurant in. We're just going to hit generate, and we're going to see what we get. It's going to take a minute to load some images on in here. I'm going to give it a minute. And then once this loads, ooh, there we go. Although this isn't giving me tea towels so much as it's giving me like full-on like hotel towels, which might not be what we're looking for, which is why restaurant might have been better. But let's try, I'm going to try a plain white restaurant apron, and we'll add cozy, because we want the cozy feel, and we're going to hit generate. And then once this loads, you have the option, just like on Adobe Stock, to either save it to a library or download the image. And if you choose to go the download the image route, you can just drag that straight into Illustrator. Okay, so these are pretty nice. We could probably work with one of these. I kind of like this one, honestly, even though, you know, I also could go for the person. But let's do this one. And then once I click on it, you can see we've got this little more options. Under here is where you'll be able to either download or you'll be able to save it to your library. So if I click on that, we're going to say, yep, I want to save it to a library, and then we're going to scroll down to find our library and hit save. And now it's in there. Will the generator in AI do some mockups? I haven't tried it. The text to vector, it will, but just keep in mind that you're going to get vector style graphics. So if you want vector style mockups, you could, but if you wanted a photo style mockup, something that looks like the actual like photo of product, you're going to want to use text to image for that type of a thing, Bruce. All right, so back over here, you'll notice that I've got the panel loaded over here, the properties and libraries panel loaded over here. If your workspace looks different, this is just the default essential essential classics default layout. So if you go to Window Workspace, and you hit Reset Essentials Classic, this is what you're going to get. But any of the windows that we're opening and closing today, just wanted to let you know, you can find these all under the Windows panel. So if there's anything that I mentioned, you're like, I don't see that panel, you can find it right in here. But once you've got your workspace loaded, if we click on the Libraries panel, this is where you're going to find all of your libraries and all of the content that we've saved. You can already see we've got our little apron from Firefly that we can bring in here. And if you don't see your library that you're working with, we're going to go back out by clicking on this little arrow, and that's going to take you back to all of your libraries. So if you're in the wrong library or you're not seeing the art there, you can go back to your full libraries and then just click on the one you want to navigate to. Okay, so let's get to building some mock-ups. I mentioned the coffee cup. I think I'm going to start with that one. Let's grab our image. I'm going to hit Command-C and Command-V to copy and paste. I'm just going to move this down here. I am going to work with the logo that we created instead of getting into the logo type here today. And let me just copy a couple of these in. So we're going to grab our loaf logo in the logo mark here. I'm going to drag that in. And then I'm also going to grab the loaf more horizontal design. Command-C and Command-V are copying and pasting, and that's all I'm doing. I'm going to bring them over to the mock-up image that I want to use here. Now, this next step is kind of important. It's not like the end of the world if you don't do this, but it does kind of make things easier. And the first time you use the mockup tool, you might be a little bit confused. So if you don't do this, so you want to make sure that you put the image over top of the thing that you want to apply it to. So if we wanted to apply this to our coffee mug, I'm just going to drag it and place it over the coffee mug. Again, I'm just dragging and I'm holding down Shift to scale this. Shift constrains the scale so you don't end up, squashing and stretching it when you're dragging. And then we're also going to do the same thing with this. I'm just going to drag this kind of over the space. Clever wants a loaf reclining chair. I actually love that idea, Clever. I appreciate that. I feel like Loaf the restaurant should have like comfy chairs for sure. Okay, and the reason that you're going to want to do this and drag them over top is that when we make our, when you use mockup on an image that has multiple items, it may not know what item you want the logo to go on. So if you've got something like, this is like over two objects, like the background and the object, it might accidentally like move it onto the background instead of being on the cup. So if we just kind of start out putting everything where we want it to before we use mockup, it's going to help us. So we've got everything placed. This is maybe a window decal. This is a decal that's going to go on our mug. I'm going to drag to select everything. Now there's two ways to get to the mockup tool or the mockup window. And that's going to be, you can go under Object, Mockup Beta, and Make. Or you can open up the mockup window by going to Window. And in here you can see mockup and it will open it up. Cody says the orange looks like Dunkin'. That may be subliminal, or it may be the fact that reds and oranges, warmer colors, really common for food brands. Once you're ready, you're going to hit mockup and it's going to start generating a mesh for you. Now the mesh, you can think of it like a invisible 3D object. It's making invisible 3D objects over my 2D image that lets me move these kind of shapes over top of that and gives it perspective. So once it's done making our mesh, and you can kind of see that in here, it gives you a little preview of how your brand might look on some of these Adobe Stock assets. But once you've kind of done that, you're going to see this like round or oval widget that appears, and that's going to let you manipulate these graphics. And these graphics are actually saved as symbols. So if you click on the little, if you click inside of that widget, it's going to let me kind of move these around. I can scale it. Again, I'm going to want to hold down Shift to constrain, or if I hover over the corner, it's going to let me rotate it. Now, I actually find that if I've got multiple images, it's easier for me to select them from inside of my layers panel. So up at the top here, I'm going to just collapse my properties panel. And I'm going to expand the other set from my Essentials Classic workspace, and now I can see my layers. So if I try to select this, sometimes you'll accidentally select the group, right? So up at the top here in the control bar, you can see actually there's like these three options for mockup. The first one is editing the group, which lets you kind of move and scale the whole thing. The second one is the image. So if you wanted to go back and you needed to make a change to this Adobe Stock image for some reason, you could go into that mode. And the third one here is for editing the contents, so editing the individual symbols. Now, if we wanted to edit this one, I actually find it easier if we go into our layers panel, open our drop down there, the little arrow. I'm going to open up our mockup group, and then we're just going to select that symbol. And now we can make sure that we are editing just that symbol instead. You can see as I pull it around the side there, it's actually, like I said, matching the perspective on that. So the mesh that was created matches the shape of kind of that object. It's like that invisible kind of 3D object I mentioned. So we'll kind of move it over a little bit. Now, these are looking good in terms of the placement, but you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, these don't really look like they're on the objects though. And we can fix that by adding a blending mode to these. So a blending mode is going to bring back some of the shading in my logo or through my logo from the original objects. So I'm going to go to my transparency panel, which happens to be over here, but again, you can find it in the window drop down. And for today, we're going to keep it simple and just focus on the first two sections of our blending mode dropdown. So the blending mode dropdown is split into different sections, and the first one is darkening blending modes. that kind of helps that the top one is named darken. And the second set's going to be lightening blending modes. Now for this, for the cup, I'm going to try a darkening blending mode. Also, hello to Gus and hello to Andrew. Welcome, friends. How's everybody doing? I'm going to choose one of the darkening blending modes, and you'll see if I zoom in, now it's starting to actually blend my logo with the shading from my cup, so it makes it look like it's actually placed on that cup. And I actually think for this color set, the color burn works really well because you're starting to really get those highlights and get that texture. It's not going to work for every graphic that you use. You just kind of want to play with those different blending modes to see what's going to work with your colors. The color burn can be a really high contrast blending mode, so it may not work for everything, but in this case I think it works really well. Okay, so we've got our mug done. Let's go and click on our other symbol here for our window decal. Now for this one, I want it to look like one of those nice white vinyl decals that goes on the outside of a window or something like that. But if we go to our drop-down menu and we choose lighten, we lose it, right, because of the color. So instead of doing that, I'm going to go in and edit my symbol. So when you make a mock-up, it makes a symbol of your artwork. So in order to edit the colors of this, I actually need to edit the symbol, which I can do right from the panel here. Or you can go into the symbol window. Let's go down here. And Paul, who was right before me, was talking about that. And we can double click in here to edit our symbol. Now, this takes you to a special like symbol editing mode. Don't freak out. This is just kind of like an isolation mode. And we can select all of the components of our symbol. We could change it to like a white, or we could change it to more of a yellow. So I'll double click on the color picker and we'll change it more to yellow to match our brand color, right? Okay, we'll go with something like that. And now to get out of here, you can do one of two things. You can either click on this arrow to exit symbol editing mode, or you can just hit escape on your keyboard. And you'll see once we exit, it automatically applies the color that we changed our symbol to. So it's just a different way to kind of work with objects. Just that's the way that mockup works. It creates symbols, and then we need to kind of edit those symbols in order to change the color. And now we can go back in, we can select our symbol, and maybe we'll try like, I'm not digging, ooh, screen looks nice. Color dodge is a little bit too bright. We're going to go with screen. And you could keep going with this. I would probably go to effects and add like a little bit of a, where is it? Blur. A little bit of a blur to this. But I want to make sure we have time to get these onto our artboard. So feel free to kind of keep playing with that. I'm going to select the whole group, Command C and Command F. Or not Command F, Command C and Command V to copy and paste. And we're going to put it onto our artboard here, scaling it up. So there's kind of our first mock-up, right? And it looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and grab and do one more really quickly if we have time. Command C and Command V. I want to show you guys what it looks like in perspective. So we've got an object that's kind of it's got more perspective to it, more dimension. And let's grab I'm going to ungroup this. Let's grab our main logo here with full color. I'm going to paste it in front of this one again, scale it up a little bit. Again, placing it over the object I want it to be, have the mock-up applied to, or have the graphic applied to. We're going to drag to select both of these, and then I'm just going to hit mock-up. It's going to generate a mesh, again, creating that kind of invisible 3D object for us to manipulate our logo around. And there we go. It's applied it, but we need to make some adjustments, so we'll just go in here, we'll rotate this a little bit, and then we'll scale it up. And you'll see that it's kind of wrapping around my box here. You know, just like that. And this one, I don't think, you know, you could add a little bit of, you know, we could add a blending mode to this. I don't think we need to. If you wanted some of that texture to come through, though, you could. There we have it. All right, so let's say you are ready to share. I'm laughing at the comments in the chat, sorry. Lighting kind of looks like it's lit up sign outside. Yeah, you could play with that idea for sure, especially with this one right here. I thought this would be a really fun one to play with the brick texture and everything, especially with our brand. But like I said, pick some mock-ups that work for your brand. I pulled these because these are just kind of relevant to like the restaurant that we're working on, but use Adobe Stock, use Firefly to create something that makes sense for your brand. So we got our mock-ups done. I want to show you how to share your work. You can either go to File, Export for screens, and it'll let you save out all of these artboards as either PNGs or JPEGs. But I really like using share links. So if we click on the big blue share button up here, it's going to open up the share link window, and you'll be able to create a link that you can share with clients. And the clients are going to be able to, ooh, we're having a little bit of a problem here. It looks like we shared for review. But when you generate a share link, clients are able to open up that share link as long as you select anyone with the link and comment, and they can leave comments on the link that is shared. Looks like we're having a little bit of trouble with that, so we might not be able to demo that for today. I don't know, I just tested this before we went live, so I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's like a little bit of an internet thing, but that's okay. Again, you can find the resources that we used for today in the description of the video, this and the presentation if you were working along with us. But thank you so much for joining me today and working with me. This was a marketing challenge in Illustrator. We went over the mockup tool, we went over sourcing mockups, we went over blending modes. We're live once a week on Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, either at Behance or on the Adobe Live YouTube channel. And today, on Tuesdays, this is graphic design day. So we've got more graphic design streams coming up after me. So stay right here, and I'll see you all later. Bye, everyone!